and it's actually something with water. Alright, and we are seeing 4v4 of course. So islands, or oh well, that's what the hell, that's like Gold Rush? Come on. Okay, somebody will have to help me because I obviously cannot see that from Classic Pro because he is having his game in Russian obviously, and I don't really speak Azbuka or read Azbuka, and neither does my computer, to be honest. I have absolutely no idea. This really looks like some kind of Gold Rush or some kind of special map like El Dorado or whatever. Really not sure. So maybe somebody in the chat can actually tell me who will be more knowledgeable about this map. But at the very start, let's have a look at the civilizations. We see Classic Pro as Han, Far as Celts, or other Celts, however you want to pronounce it. Sticky Fingers is playing Mongols, PMR Keith is Mayan, and against them we have Yannick as Mayan, Mangos Spanish, Skull is playing Mongols, and Liere is playing Huns. So that's almost a mirror. We see a difference of the Spanish and the Celts between Far and Mangos. So let's see what's going to be the better pick on this map. Well, if it is Gold Rush, well, I wouldn't really think it's Gold Rush because if I remember correctly, Gold Rush doesn't have those extra mines right next to your base. I'm not exactly positive, but I do seem to remember something like that. But at any rate, these gold mines in the very middle will definitely be the target of all the players, and this Gold Rush map is usually played with some heavy sling. So we'll be seeing who is actually going to be slunk, and usually when I have seen these maps earlier, actually I have seen Goths and Goths being slunk, and they are pretty beastly, especially with the potential to actually spawn quite a lot of units quite fast in the Imperial Age and whatnot. Well, at any rate, I'm not exactly sure what to expect from this gate, so let's just have a look around the map. For example, right now at Ska, who is luring one of the boars in. And otherwise seems to be having pretty decent one or other second one at the very back. I'm going to switch into Skull to actually have a look if he knows about it yet. Yes, he does. Doing pretty good job with the scouting and also knows where the stone mine is together with the starting gold, which is only the small mine, so not really all that much, but he does see some extra stone at the very front and also extra gold here. This also seems that it's very close to him. It's basically within Doltary together with Mango, and might be slightly harder for their opponents to actually get somewhere close here, as obviously once those gold mines are much closer to you, this is going to be easier for you to defend because you will obviously be quite faster there with your villagers and whatnot. Mango is already butchering one of those piggies, building one mill for the berries, and the second boar is already killed or not. I don't really see any carcass in the town center, so probably not. So it will be somewhere hidden, like around here. And yeah, we can also see a lot of flares here from Mango and also Skull, signaling where the extra gold is and where everybody should be aiming to go. Well, that's unfortunate, obviously, for Liere, as this stone mine is going to be quite hard for him to mine, as obviously, yeah, it's going to take quite some time before he actually lumberjacks his way in. But otherwise, does he see the extra one at the back quite nicely? Yes, he does, so no problem for him, because before he actually needs this extra stone mine, I kinda thinking the game might be already decided, as usually those maps with the sling into the middle are decided rather fast before, because obviously it all hangs in the balance who can actually conquer the middle. A red player is already walling in, as he's preparing basically to be protected from his opponents. Right now he is very worried about potentially some kind of raiding from knights or whatever inside his base. So yeah, that's kind of early, I would say, so far, but still, better safe than sorry, and maybe will help him in the early game there. What's also pretty interesting is that green player Liare is very close to his opponent, purple. Now that's Classic Pro, and this is going to be quite interesting engagement between those two, because obviously once those Fulfis are moving, Liare will know that his opponent is coming inside his base and he will be having to defend quite soon. So that's a Han against a Han. That's one good thing we'll see in here. That's going to be a pretty fair mirror, so not really any kind of disadvantage for potential either team. And here we see a bit of a rush from the purple player, and he will be hoping to find some economy of green. Green is not advancing yet, and he's not even having barracks up or whatever, preparing for potentially the defense. So this will be pretty deadly for him potentially if Liere doesn't doesn't play this correctly, and if Classic Pro play this correctly. Okay, so let's see if he's going for those berries. I would be kinda expecting so. And on the bottom I also see some purple or rather orange scouts or whatever in blue's base, so that will be something else to have a look at pretty soon. So that's a militia rush coming in, but unfortunately for him, green is well aware and playing this quite nicely, building on those palisade walls and protecting his fillies as much as he can. And right now, with the extra fire from the TC, this is pretty much going to be goodbye, Scouty. He can actually catch them. Yeah, he could. So Scout is dead, and that's a bit of a problem for purple, because 4 units are much better than 3, obviously, especially in the Drash. And with the pretty nice defense of the green player and the extra TC fire, this is probably going to be a bit of a fiasco here, as I'm not really seeing how he can do something substantial with all this. But still, he did at least force green to use his villages to build walls, and obviously you can see a lot of idle time from those food villies, which is definitely something he did not want, and at least some kind of advantage was gained from this militia rush. So that's nice overall. And we see already players advancing into the feudal. Sticky Finger, Ciliere, and Cave are all advancing together with Mango now. And we're going to see on the left what's happening with the Drash from Yannick. So it seems like that one Drash from Inf and one Drash from CZs. And they seem to be pretty much still alive. Yeah, all 3 militia together with the Eagle Warrior. And are they going to find something interesting? It seems like pretty much the same situation as on the right. So I don't really expect anything different either. But also it seems like that blue is not defending all that much. He isn't building the palisade walls or houses or whatever to defend himself, so he potentially can be in a lot of trouble quite soon, right about now. Quite curiously, Yannick is taking this quite safely. Not exactly sure why, but this is really pretty good catch, as obviously when fighting with militia rush, you really want to separate the villages and potentially get the damage in before they can gang up on you. Because obviously the villages are not really half bad, as they have 3 attack 40 health, whereas militia have 4 attack 40 health, so that's almost the same. And literally 1 extra villi above the numbers and you are in a bad fight, and the militias are not going to be living for much longer. Moving back to the right side, where yellow is right now switching to the feudal age and already having a pretty decent off-scouting cavalry, he is trying to disrupt the market from red, which is also pretty important, as I'm kinda thinking that the Mayan was preparing to sling, and if he doesn't have the market, well, quite obviously that's going to be a bit harder to achieve at this point. And right now the damage has been done and the sling has been delayed, which is pretty crucial at this stage of the game. But is he actually going to sling or whatever? He seems to be actually switching into Castle Age with the blacksmith here. So it's kinda interesting from him, and something else happening on the right. Not much. Purple is not being raided by anything or anyone. We see blacksmith and the archery range from him as a hunt, so potentially either a bit of archers or some cavalry archers in the Castle Age, with green right now going for second archer range, and this basically tells you exactly the same strategy as his opponent Classic Pro. Yes, still the militia rush going strong in the blue base. 1 villager dead, a second one already dead here, so that's a pretty good job by the militia rush, and quite nicely executed by Yannick, who was the best player in the last game and seems to be on the same wave in this one also. So right now he's rather looking for the correct villagers to actually pick off. Yeah, but that's probably not going to work anymore, because obviously right now he has been exactly gang up on, and 1 villager more dead, scout dead, so that's a pretty good job. And I think this was a very successful rush overall. So we already see some flares to go into the middle. With heal villagers, I'm going to have a look at the achievements, who is actually slinging or whatever. Okay, so sent from Sticky Fingers into Yammer Cave. Okay, so cave is being slung. And will be, as the Mayan, potentially the one to actually go into the middle for the gold mine. So we'll see quite soon if that's really going to be happening here. Well, this seems like a bit of a tough luck for a green player, as I do see some dead villager in there and also 4 wolves. So that was a bit of an attempt at raiding, but unfortunately for him, Classic Pro did have some extra help from the nature itself, and he will be having or rather forced to have a bit more army before he goes for another attempt. Right there, so that was pretty interesting indeed, with Castle Age coming in for both Liere and Yannick. In the middle we already see that Mango is in the castle age and dropping a castle as a Spanish right next to this gold, which is exactly crucial on this kind of map, and also very nicely protected by the palisades and the houses. Once the castle is up, I would be expecting full spam of conquistadors and potentially even an extra TC or extra castle next to these extra gold mines. Let's switch into Mango. He doesn't have the stone though, so that's probably just going to be a TC if he goes for anything else. But still, really, this is a pretty strong claim for everything, rather for the middle of the map, and should be quite strong indeed for the later game. What's also interesting to notice is that PMR Cave is advancing into Imperial Age, whereas Skull is just going castle, and this is exactly the result of the Sling. And I'm really curious why the Slug player is not actually occupying the middle, or not trying to do so. He's probably hoping that he can actually disrupt whatever his opponent is doing just by the sheer strength of his Imperial Age with the Eagle Warriors. Yeah, he will be switching into Eagle Warriors, you can see, not really archers or whatever, so Eagles together with some potentially Siege Rams or Mangonels. Oh, what do I want? Red player. Not anything being built so far, but he's going for the Imperial Bowsaw. Okay, so he'll definitely want some extra siege right of the advancing bat. Still being slung by far. With Sticky Fingers as Mongol, being quite happy playing what he plays at this point, having 3 lumber camps for potential much more efficient wood gathering, and also double mining camp for yet again much more efficiency with gathering resources. Somewhere else something interesting, not much, just the double wall from blue, but we have seen that a lot earlier. Otherwise I don't really think much more interesting stuff happening here from Yannick, who is building second TC, having a castle up, and interested in raiding his blue opponent it seems, but does he have something to raid? Well, he also has to hurry up, because obviously blue is finishing with the wall in. And I don't really think he can actually get something anywhere. So once this wall is actually finished, if he can be finished, because he's arriving right at the nick of time, this will be quite decently safe for the Infar who is slinging his ally. At this point we have to look also what Skull is doing, because he's basically trying to occupy the middle together with his steel teammate, and they are doing a pretty good job of that, as Red are so far not really doing anything and waiting for the beastly Mayan with the elite Eagle Warriors to come back into play. Well, that's a lot of wolfies right there, yet again, and Conquistadors trying to make their presence count. They will be pretty soon through the wall right about now, and they will be potentially raiding together with the Knights from Skull, and this will be pretty tragic for the opponents if they can actually defend against this. But looking at the amount of Eagle Warriors, I'm not really all that worried for them, and they should be pretty much fine overall if they play this correctly though. Just looking how those Conquistadors are pretty strong so far. Yeah, you can see not really enough researches or other upgrades from the blacksmith still in for the Mayan. This is basically why he's getting so wrecked by those units here, and that's pretty much it for him. And he might actually need some extra help, even though he's been slung. He's having all kinds of troubles against those units. Yeah, a bit of a switch into, I don't know what, potentially halberdiers. Yeah, obviously halberdiers, it would be a pretty good combo against both of these, Conquistadors and the Knights, but so far that's not happening, and we'll be seeing if he can actually switch into them soon enough. Still no siege. And, oh well, here we see a bit of a help from his teammate Classic Pro, and that's exactly what he needs, as those cavalry archers are going to be pretty decent, especially against those conquistadors. So it seems like that the raiding for CZs are pretty much over. And let's have a look at what's happening in the middle here. It seems like the teal is literally just trying to control the middle, so we are basically just waiting for extra castles or whatever inside the map here. And control of this hill is potentially going to be quite important, as obviously some archers like from Classic Pro, the cavalry archers could be taking some heavy advantage of this very big hill right in the middle here. Potentially even some trebuchets could be quite powerful from that hill. Well, how's it looking for orange? Well, he at least forced blue to actually somehow build the wall a bit earlier, or rather closer to his main TC, so that, yeah, he's safe from raiding, which he basically is at this point. And orange is just trying to find some way into opponent's bases, but not really finding any kind of luck. So yeah, this is just this guy trying to stand some guard and spot some weaknesses in the opponent's bases. Right now, Eagle Warriors from PRM Cave, or rather Keef, are running amok across the map, trying to find something to raid, and are they going to be successful? At this point, it seems like that he's basically just sending them to their death right next to the castle with the conquistadors and knights. But looking how those three are already here, rather two, not exactly sure, but a few of them, and they are basically just scouting, trying to find what is happening in the opponent's bases and trying to potentially kill some extra free valleys. What's also interesting to notice is on the right that he's continuing with his trading not only in the middle but also on the green player, who is having 1, 2, 3 TCs and is also being engaged by the purple player. So it seems to be developing into a proper double on the right from both Classic Pro and also Keith. And only Liera is defending against this so far. Siege Workshop being dropped, so that's a bit of a problem potentially brewing from CZ and Liera overall. And you can already see that Liera is actually having 45 idle villagers from 60. So he's being forced into a pretty tough situation through the raiding of the Eagle Warriors. And yeah, this is not something that he would want at this point. I would be switching into Liera, into green. Yeah, he's having pretty much no echo at this point, and he definitely has to hope that his allies in the middle, Mango together with Skull, can do something against his opponent red, because if they don't, yeah, the double on the right would be pretty tough to deal with. Town center being dropped right next to the stone, which is also pretty crucial at this stage of the game, as definitely it will allow the Mayan to build some extra castles into the middle and potentially defend some kind of gold that is here. Extra TC by the teal player, and as a steel actually arrived at some help or something. Well, not so far. We just see a bit of Mongolian knights from yellow, which is not really enough, especially with purple having a pretty decent army of cavalry archers right inside green's base, and this is not really looking all that well for green, because obviously he's still having those 45 idols, and he's not gathering for like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes already. That's a pretty huge time, and this basically means that he's out of the game altogether, and he needs some help. He needs some help, and more than those 4 knights, because they are definitely not going to cut it here. They are most definitely not going to cut it, and where are actually running those willies? Somewhere into safety, potentially in here. Yeah, they could be pretty safe here, because I wouldn't be expecting his opponent actually to have a look there. And you can already see that purple is definitely meaning some quite serious business, as he's having battering rams and trying to take down the buildings of his opponent. Really, I have to reiterate that the non-functioning economy from the green player is at this point really substantially crucial, because that's basically eliminating him from the game overall. And finally, CZ recognized that they need to protect their teammate, as Mango is arriving with the conquistadors and trying to put an end to this nonsensical raiding from their opponent. But villages are trickling in, and I would be thinking some castle drop would be in order from a Classic Pro. Let's switch into him. Either he just dropped the castle or he doesn't have the stone. So it seems like he doesn't have the stone, or yeah, he doesn't have the stone so far. But I would be really thinking that placing a castle right about here potentially could really do wonders for them, because they wouldn't need all that much army to control green so far, or rather after that, and it would be much easier for them to get rid of their opponents. In the middle we finally see some first castle from PMR Keith, who is right now trying to protect this goal, even though the castle definitely could have went slightly more forward to really cover the goal. Right now it's not. And here we see the first trebuchet, and with the fact that Teal has actually been forced to go somewhere else with those conquistadors, he is right now having a bit of a problem potentially if somebody occupies the hill. Yeah, that's quite a lot of Eagle Warriors, and oh, pretty huge amount of of plumed archers right now joining from Yannick, who is finally joining the battle in fullest. And since he can't really raid his opponent's grade together with blue, he is right now joining in the middle, and this should be more than enough, especially with the hill advantage here. Even though they are fighting against Eagle Warriors, which are pretty much a counter to them, plumed archers are all that much stronger when they are in higher numbers, and basically when they reach some kind of critical mass, they're really tough to deal with, even with proper counter units like the Eagle Warriors. That's exactly what is happening here, with Teal eaten into green's base ever more strongly, and basically I would say at this point that it's pretty much out of it. Yeah, having just 28 villages, yeah, that's pretty much 3 versus 4, and let's see if CZ can actually push through the middle, because right now that's the only chance that they have. Orange is also being slightly raided by some stray Eagle Warriors. This is not really something substantial, or I wouldn't really say even planned. It seems like just literally some stray units, not doing all that much damage, because they are dying to this castle. But so far, in the middle, it's a really pitched battle, and yeah, the mass of Eagle Warriors is right now seems to be pretty much counting in and making all the difference in this match. So I would be really thinking that they need some kind of counter to this. Potentially paladins from somebody like the Skull, who is right now advancing into Imperial Age, probably going for that as a Mongol, and I would be really thinking that that will be the course of action for him. This is though going to be a pretty substantial raiding. Because, yeah, even though the army is going to be encountering a bit of a wall here, I wouldn't really think that going through Palisade it would be taking all that much time, but the slaughter on this potentially important stone mine is going to be quite crucial, because obviously without extra stone, the Mayan cannot build extra castles, and that's a bit of a problem when he's going for the plumed archers. But so far he's defending decently well, and basically allowing Teal in the middle to defend against the potential attack on his castle through the trebuchets and whatnot. But I'm really missing some kind of siege from either Teal or the orange player, because literally what are they going to do against this castle and the buildings without any kind of siege? Okay, so this seems to be pretty much contained for CZs. How's it looking on the right? Well, the base is basically taken by green. Just having fun with some of the farms, trying to put them on fire, and also developing a pretty strong forward base together with the TC and whatnot, basically stealing resources from his opponents and having a pretty decent amount of stables overall. And since he's a Han, this is basically going to develop into Cavaliers and Paladins pretty soon, since he's advancing into Imperial Age as soon. And same can be said about Mango. He's having pretty decent resources, so that's going to be a jump into Paladins pretty soon, especially when he's being slung by Sticky Fingers. So it seems like that both Blue and Grey are just going to be slinging their allies at this point, which is a pretty nice idea. And looking at the huge army from Purple, this is going to be quite hard to deal with for the yellow player, together with also his allies, because literally they are right now fighting 3 versus 2, but 2 being slugged each by his own player. Well, each by his own player. It seems like that they are pretty much slinging anyone they can get his hands on. And oh well, this is kinda late for Mango. Is he actually going to be able to finish the castle? With a huge army of those cavalry archers in here, oof, he will probably finish, but this is going to cost him quite a lot of willies. Yeah, he will finish, but this is pretty much a willy slaughter at this point. Come on, come on, come on, come on, can you finish? Oh well, this might actually... Oh yeah, well this was much closer than I actually expected at the very start of the battle. And it really caused quite a lot of villages to Mango, and well, quite not good news, especially with this extra raiding. Right now a few idols, or quite a lot of idols actually, from Skull. And what is going to be happening here? Wall finished right at the last moment with the Conquistadors trying to kill as many Eagle Warriors as they can with proper micro. They might actually be able to corner them, which they are at this point, and well, yeah, they are getting some free shots here. So I would be thinking at this point that Cave would be doing pretty much the best job if he actually ran into them and tried to kill as many of the units, because right now he lost like half of them basically doing nothing. So yeah, that was that, and bit of raiding on the left. Not much strong, but still strong enough. Strong enough, as obviously they are fighting just plumed archers. And we need to move back into the middle, where Purple is trying to build yet another castle, just for himself, but so far he's not going to be successful as his Mango opponent. Cavaliers in from the Purple player. That's important to notice, also with Paladin coming in right off the bat, rather pretty soon in here, and those plumed archers from the Orange player are doing their job quite nicely and trying to secure the gold altogether. You can see that they have gotten rid of the castle that was here from Red. I already finished some extra castles, and they are basically occupying the middle at this point, and that is what is super important on this map. You need to control all the gold, because once your opponent runs out of gold, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, especially if he doesn't go for some extra trading, which is so far not happening. So this is brewing into a pretty huge battle, and once those paladins are in, this is going to be a huge surprise for CZs, and pretty bad surprise, I have to say, at that point. I'm still pretty curious why nobody is building anything like halberdiers or whatever. I'm literally confused about this fact at this point. But so far that's not happening, and with those paladins in, they might be finally forced into it, but with this huge amount of siege ramps, well, and having just plumed archers defend against that, I'm not exactly seeing how that could work out for the CZ clan at this point. I'm kinda curious, where is somebody like yellow? He's having a lot of houses, that's nice. A lot of houses. Switching into Mango Dice apparently, with second castle in here, and that's pretty much it. I don't really see any army from here whatsoever, so basically this is going to be a recapturing of the middle by Inf, and a really hard time for the CZs, because even though all those conquistadors, elite conquistadors already are coming in, yeah, this is going to be a lot of micro battle for him, because obviously he doesn't want to get caught by all those paladins. A bit of a lag here, that's slightly unfortunate. I'm going to try and see if we can actually try to fix that somehow. I think this is happening only because of lag. So we will be having a bit of a better game for just a few moments. Maybe it'll get better, we'll see. Yeah, it seems to have gotten better slightly. So that's that, and finally a bit of a good castle from PMR Cave, who is right now trying to basically conquer the gold in the middle and doing a pretty good job with that. Having archer ranges right off the bat here. That's interesting switch from him, to be honest, as he will be probably going as a Mayan for also some kind of arbalests. As maybe they are expecting that their opponents are going to switch into halberdiers pretty soon, and they definitely have to be prepared for that kind of eventuality. That is not happening yet, but maybe from Yannick will be pretty soon. I'm going to switch into him to have a proper look. Where are we with the correct battlefield? Here we are, and finally we see some of the pikemen here. So yep, that's the correct unit that the CZ army was missing, and let's see if it can turn the battle around. So far it's a lot of archers from both the orange Yannick and the teal player Mango. But I'm really waiting for the paladins from the yellow player, but at this point I'm not really sure if he's really going for them or if he's just going and waiting for his fully upgraded Mongolian Mango Dice. Well, this is a pretty tough battle, trying to take down the castle with the trebuchets, which could be successful if he can defend well enough. Yeah, with all those pikemen he probably could be, but look at how PMR Keith is actually upgrading elite skirmishers. Well, that's an idea right there, especially against those plumed archers. That could really work for him. But looking how he should be probably concentrating on spamming quite a lot of Eagle Warriors, as they are doing a pretty good job overall. I'm not exactly thinking if that's going to be the correct course of action. I'm really sorry for the lag here, or in the game. Definitely could have used a better performance by the computers of the players, but so far it's a really exciting game, and we finally see that yellow is joining in with the Mango Dice in here. Castle is down, that's also a pretty important stage in the game, and it seems like that blue together with red are actually trying to gather as much gold as they can, also together with grey, and trying to gold, or rather mine as much gold as they can, because they are expecting that they will probably be losing this gold mine pretty soon and will be forced of it into their defensive, and that's going to be a bit harder for them to get up some kind of resource count. Looking somewhere else, not much happening on the right, just Green trying to slowly rebuild. He's right now already at 66 villages, so that's just a question of time before he can actually get back and help as a hand yet again. And that might be a pretty good and game-changing moment in the game, as obviously once he joins with the paladins of his own, that's going to be a game changer right there. Okay, so Trebuchet is dead for the orange player. That's a bit of a setback, but not really much of one. And looking at the battlefield, it looked decidedly bad for CZs, but so far it seems to be basically equaling. And I would really dare to say that with those pikemen, if they are positioned nicely against those paladins, this could really be turning around all together. Right now those skirmishers definitely having the advantage of the hill here. That's pretty important at this stage of the game, and also we finally see the halberdiers from orange being researched. Some extra researches and a very nice castle from the teal player, who is trying to ascertain the control of the gold also, however, together with the yellow castles as well. Yet another castle in here, and basically trying to stop what is happening from the purple player, who is slowly but surely trying to make his way into the middle, and right now that's basically going to be stopped, as obviously this castle and this castle are going to be targets pretty soon, due to the Mangudais here, and potentially even trebuchets from the Mongolian player pretty soon. A lot of villages here that need to basically survive for them to be useful in the game, and here we see interesting stuff. As far has advanced into the castle age and he is cells, so that basically means that he is abandoning some kind of slinging and will be going for the imperial age and some pretty beastly siege weapons from the cell player. So yep, there's going to be yet another switch in the game overall, going for Boso right now to have a proper economy. And looking at the villages overall, Liare is actually right now at 91, and even though he was slaughtered at 28, and here we see the GG's, and actually how Inis are right now recognizing that their window of opportunity has closed, and they don't have enough push at this point or anything to kill their opponent's CZs, and CZs, even though they were really fighting a very heavy fight on the left here, well, they did prevail. just by a hair, I would say, because they were really close to actually being defeated and did quite well indeed to hold their nerves, and even like 3 versus 4, they were able to turn the battle around and win overall. Well, that was a pretty decent game, I have to say. Pretty decent game and not easy at all for the opponents here. Rather, for both CZ and Inf. So let's have a look at the achievements then. Let's look at the achievements with Yannick yet again being the MVP here. By quite a lot. Nothing interesting somewhere about just the unit skill. That's pretty interesting ratio for him. Not really all that much for PMR Kiev. He was losing a lot of units in there as he was sending Eagle Warriors just across the map. Not really in some bunches or whatever. And here you can see a pretty huge sling by Sticky Fingers into PMR Cave. And also from far to Classic Pro and whatnot, yeah? Pretty strong sling by Inf, but unfortunately for them, it wasn't really enough to do anything substantial with the game. Well, anything substantial. They were actually pretty close to winning overall, so yeah, it was powerful. But CZs, in the end, held on and were able to overcome their opponents. A very decent Imperial Age at 20 minutes. And pretty decent amount of villages, 155. 131 for Yannick. Far at just 84, with Sticky Fingers 96. Yeah, you can see here that the green was basically put out of the game altogether, and he didn't have any kind of military for the rest of it. He was just slowly getting back into the game, and he would be getting in there pretty soon indeed. So yeah, that would be game changer right off the bat. Okay, GG then.